when I was getting into this online debate, and you know me, if you follow me on Twitter, you know I like to get in these debates, that I found a website, believe it or not, on the Halloween debate called historyforatheists.com. Now, I know not exactly the kind of website you'd think that, a good Catholic boy, Polish Catholic would be reading. But I said, well, hold on, let me see what it says, because it's very interesting. Because this is an analysis of Halloween. By the way, they also have articles on Christmas and Easter that has no dog in the fight. Right? They have no dog in the fight as to whether it's pagan, whether it's Christian, whether it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. They just want to know what's the actual history of the practice. And they come in completely on the side with resources and references. I mean, the whole thing's like 5,000 words. Highly recommend everybody read this, because it's a completely secular account of, and it includes everything that you just talked. I don't know if it has the volcano story, actually, but it talks about Samhain and the fact that Samhain was not celebrated in November. It talks about the early church. It talks about the dates, how that was moved around from different places. And by the way, it also gets into the point that that part of Ireland was not part of the Roman Empire at the time. So the idea that the emperor or the Frankish kings or the Pope would be referring to something that's taking place beyond the bounds of the empire, beyond the bounds of any part of Christendom, or was considered Christendom, it just doesn't make any sense, right? The dates don't match. It's not like today where they're just, Googling, hey, what's a cool pagan holiday we can steal, right? And what's interesting, though, in all this is a piece of it that a lot of this comes back to, and I want to read this, that the idea, where does this idea come from? And it spawns all these pop culture blogs, and it comes from basically this really bad 19th century, like a lot of bad things that came from the late 19th century, early 20th century idea of comparative religion. Right, this idea of the study of comparative religion. And the original book of this, or the most influential book, I should say, was called The Golden Bough by Sir James Fraser. And in 2 volumes in 1890, which eventually expanded, it caused something of a scandal for treating Christianity like any other form of ancient mythology, but effectively established the discipline of comparative religion in the English-speaking world. And so in their reasoning, all religion is just the same thing. This is for the comparative theologists. They would say, well, no, every religion just takes something from the religions that came before and then adds a little something to it, adds their own spin, but it's really all just the same thing and it's all mixed up. And that's what we're getting today. And in doing so, you actually lose the rich tapestry, not only, by the way, of actual theology, but just human history. Right, because that's not how it happened in any way. You had wars, certainly. You had, but you had this great religious debate that was going on at the time. I actually said this on another show recently, but the reason that atheists aren't discussed in anywhere really in the Bible is because they didn't exist in biblical times. Right? Everyone believed in something. Everyone believed in, whether it's the god of this tribe or that tribe, or the god of the Canaanites. Whether it was Baal, it was Moloch. A lot of Moloch worship going on today still. And the fact was, they were dealing with establishing the one true God, right, for the ancient Israelites, and then eventually going into Jesus by fulfilling that through coming of the Messiah. And so this idea that they would be borrowing things from other religions, it's anathema to what actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Like you were saying that, Ireland wasn't even, that's kind of the narrative that people hear, is that they took these jack-o'-lantern myths and somehow imported them into Rome. But one of the big, wrenches in the machine is the Pope, who eventually made All Saints on November 1st and moved it from May to November 1st. He was the last non-European Pope until Pope Francis in 2013. He wasn't even from Europe. You know where he's from? Syria. Okay, so the Pope,
it's Pope Gregory, right? The fourth?
Pope Gregory the Third. Pope Gregory the Third. Okay. Yeah, he's the one who, started this process, and he was from Syria. So I don't think he was like trying to get like Irish. It
wasn't like an Irish Syrian,
Yeah, Irish Syrian fusion. No, it's just like he's as far away from Ireland as possible, and he's the Pope who starts putting this stuff into place. So
yeah, it's just a lot of really bad research and really bad history that's actually been debunked by secular historians for a long time, But it is a popular idea because it's used to combat the church. It's used by secularists. It's used by Satanists and occultists to say, aha, look at you. You took your thing from us and now we're taking it back from you. If you go to the city of Salem, by the way, we happen to be there passing through about a year ago, and it's all occult there. Everything is occult in Salem now. And it's celebrated. It's absolutely celebrated. And I have no idea what was going on back there in Puritan times. The witches, were they real? Or they witches, or was it just I have no idea, right? We can't really know. But what I do know is there's a lot of witchcraft there today. Absolutely. I mean, it is a nexus point.
It's like
when you're there.
It's like you and I have talked about before, Easter eggs. People are like, oh, Easter eggs are pagan. They mean this. It's this goddess. It's like, no. In the medieval era and up until recently, you couldn't eat meat or eggs during Lent. It was part of fasting. It was penance. It was to make your life hard, no protein, right? You're living on basically a vegan diet during Lent. And then on Easter Sunday, you got to eat an egg. And it tasted so amazing because you hadn't had an egg in 46 days. And people would paint them and be excited about it. It wasn't pagan. It was Catholic.
Which, by the way, for those of you who don't understand how chickens work, chickens don't know that it's Lent. So the chickens continue producing the eggs. So you've got all these eggs just stacked up around your house, and because the chickens you can't just go to the chicken and say, hey, wait. So you've got to do something with the chicken. So there you go. That's for all the city folks that are listening.
Yeah, it's just practical Catholicism, and I think. Since our society, since the Reformation became more Protestant, especially in America, and then now that we live in a post-Christian era, all of the Catholic nuts and bolts and the underpinning of our culture, it's all forgotten. And then now we have all these people on blogs who are like trying to impose Wicca on everything,
which is completely made up, by the way.
Completely, yeah. So it's just. It's kind of ridiculous. It's not even. It's if you were an ancient pagan, an ancient occultist, you were definitely not a Wiccan because that was made up. Right. Yeah.
So we should talk about that a little bit. So I feel like that's enough.
Witches.
And for anyone who wants to read this full article, I'll actually link it here. So I know, right? Jack Posobiec and Taylor Marshall linking to an atheist website. That'll be fun, but. Put us in good standing with our fellow Catholics, for sure. And. But let's get into this idea that the occultists really have perverted this holiday and so many other Christian holidays the same way that in all occultism, it's always a perversion of the true faith. You have the Mass, you have the Black Mass, you have 3 p.m. becomes 3 a.m. 3 p.m. the traditional. By tradition, we believe that's when Christ died on the cross. So 3 a.m. becomes satanic hour. You see this in movies, by the way, The Exorcist, right? There's a lot of Catholic, obviously, right? There's the overt Catholic motifs of the rosary, the holy water, the crucifix, the young priest, the old priest. But there's even deeper stuff if you know the background of 3 a.m., 3 p.m., and stuff, et cetera, like this. By the way, just another note on that, that's one of the coolest things about growing up Catholic is that, number one, you never actually have to have this discussion because you just know, inherently that's what it is. But then also that it always means that you get the day after Halloween off. So just saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, as long as you go to church.
For us, November 1st is a high holy day. It's a holy day of obligation. And that means we have to go to Mass. It's just like a Sunday. We have to go to Mass. We get to go to Mass, but we're required to go to Mass because we come and we commemorate all the saints in heaven. And we Catholics like saints. And then people say, well, what about
in Eastern Europe? I don't know if you know this, but in Poland, All Saints Day and All Souls Day are massive, just absolutely massive. And All Souls Day, what the Poles will do, and you would see this in Ukraine as well, probably not this year, obviously, that might be harder. But I take that back. I guarantee you will see this on November 2nd in Ukraine, even in wartime, that in Western Ukraine, you still have a lot of Catholics. They will go to the cemeteries, and it's candles and it's flowers for your family, for your ancestors. And there's sort of this idea that if you're not taking care of the graves of your ancestors, that you're like it's a shame, right? It's a personal shame. It's a familial shame that you are not, because the idea being that you have to honor your ancestors, which, by the way, last time I checked, that wasn't a recommendation. That wasn't a suggestion from God. Honoring your ancestors, that's a commandment, right? That's a commandment. And this idea that, and then of course that hopefully that someone will do that for you at some point.